Here we go. Are you ready? Oh, are you ready for this? Let me actually aim the mic at where I'm talking. So, welcome to our little Friday excursion as we end the week big with my friend Sean Harris from Serpentine Cider. That's that very attractive gentleman you see sitting over there rocking the Serpentine shirt and drinking his Apricot hop. Before we get into it, but if you didn't know, he's here, San Diego, local cider maker, who does really, really good cider. Even if you don't think you like cider, it's one of those things you need to seek out and find, because his cider is unlike any other cider, because even though it's based with apples, has a crap ton of flavors like guava. If I had to say, if you're walking into his tasting room to try one thing, like just blindly, start with the guava. I mean, that's a pretty good assessment, isn't it, right?
Yeah, that's usually what I tell everyone to try. You know, when they come in, I say, if you want to try, I usually give them the apple because that's just the original. That's the base that'll get them started on everything.
Get them started at 7%.
Yeah, that one's about 7.5. So yeah, I get them going.
Ease you on in here.
And then the guava is our biggest seller. It's really what I think San Diego in a glass tastes like. So I tell them to try that. And then I just let them branch off on any of the crazy flavors that we have. Like, we've got...
the salted margarita, I must say, is a highlight because I was not expecting to have that kind of experience with the cider.
Yeah, that's what I like to do. I like to have people, and when I give them cider, I like to see their mind just explode. That's what I really like. I like to change people's perceptions on everything. Like with music, when I was a little punk rocker with a foot-tall green mohawk, and they thought I was just like a terrible little kid. And I like to break their perception with that by getting straight A's and becoming, a scientist. And when I taught at a university, I had a big green mohawk, and I was at the front of a lecture hall teaching with a big green mohawk. I loved breaking people's perceptions, and I still do that with cider. I like to have people have a preconceived notion, and then I just like to explode that in their head. Same thing with our Miramar location. We have a vegan kitchen.
Oh, yeah. By the way, this guy is all about veganism and vegan food. You are vegan practicing.
I am, yeah. Mainly environmental reasons. I'm an environmental biologist. It's the easiest thing you can do to really help out environmental causes is don't go vegan. I mean, that's extreme. Don't do that. That's crazy. Just go for a day.
Don't follow me for what I do, but sample it out for yourself.
Just do what I say, not what I do. Go for a day. Just, try a meal without meat, which it's easier than you think once you do it. But that brings me with the Miramar location with Rollin' Roots. They do the same thing, which is why I wanted to have them in our kitchen. They just explode people's minds with vegan food. You would have no idea it's vegan food. It's so good. They break preconceived notions. Same thing with Lost Cause Meadery, which shares our tasting room. They destroy everyone's preconceived notions of what sweet, terrible meat is. It's insanely good. And that's what I like to do is I like to take people's preconceived notions and just turn them on their head. And that's what I like to do with cider, with mead, with vegan food, everything.
Well, you're in luck because we're about to do that exact thing right now with a cider that has hops in it, but we're going to have to go right now. So are you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. It is Friday, and we are wrapping things up with my friend Sean Harris from Serpentine Cider. All week we've been drinking his delicious wares, and he's definitely, even as many times as I've had you on this show, you are still blowing my mind when it comes to the things you can do with cider. And I get it. It starts out with the apple, and then you do other things to it. But man, yesterday that strawberry lemon basil, I can still taste it. Like the studio still smells a little bit like basil.
So good right now.
But as we rounded out the week, we don't have that. We've got something that crosses the line between cider and beer now, only because you use hops.
Yeah, I use hops, so it's an apricot hops, and not only do I use hops, I use a lot of hops. Just like 5-10 years ago in San Diego, all the breweries did really bring out that West Coast style IPAs. I use a lot of hops. I actually took a berry recipe from my friend's brewery, and I just made an apple base, and I added apricot because I wanted to make it kind of like a hazy East Coast style IPA which is more fruity than our West Coast style. So I just added apricots instead of that fruity yeast that you use. And that's really what I have here. It's apples, apricots, and hops.
Wait, did you say you varied that yeast strain that you usually use?
No, I added apricots instead of varying the yeast strain. So the yeast strain in fruity hazy IPAs is a hazy yeast strain. I did not use that. So instead, I use apricots. And I don't filter any of my ciders. So every once in a while, you'll get, just a cloud of fruit. And people will wonder, what is that? I'm like, you want that. That's real fruit. And that means there's going to be real big flavor in that. It's going to be hazier. It's going to be cloudier. And that's one of the things that I used to get knocked on by judges and competitions is they want everything to be just crystal clear. But if it's crystal clear, that takes out all of the real fruit that's just hanging around in there. So this is a little hazier. It's not terribly crystal.
This thing is very clear still.
For a cider, this is not at all. Like a cider should be quotation marks, ridiculously clear. And I don't like that because I want there to be little particles of fruit floating around in there. That makes it really, really tasty.
Because particles of fruit equals explosion of flavor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I actually tried to filter some of my cider. I got a free filter, a big, $5,000 filter for free. I think it's a good look. They got that. They gave that to me for free. And I tried it once, and it took out a lot of the flavor. It made it beautiful. The cider was gorgeous, incredibly clear like water, but I hated it. So I didn't throw it away. I drank it all. But
I'm not going to put it in the taster. I'm going to put that in my own private reserve.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I decided I knew I wasn't going to filter, but I got it for free, so I was going to try to filter. But no, I never filtered it before. I tried it once. I'll never do it again. It's not the way I think cider should be. Cider should be unfiltered, which really allows that explosion of fruit.
Well, I will say one thing I've learned about you, Sean, over this last week of drinking with you is that you tend to do things your own way as you believe they are right. And you know what? I tip my hat to you for doing that, being true to thine own self.
Thank you.
And who you are. Play us out. What is our last song we're going to end this off with?
Our last song of the week, I really wanted to do something that, we're melding two different things together. We're melding cider and beer together with this apricot hops. And I wanted to go back to when they started to meld hip hop with rock. Not, the 90s stuff that was terrible, but back in the 80s when they first did it with Run DMC and Aerosmith, when they did Walk This Way, Run DMC style, I still remember probably one of my favorite songs, like 6 or 7-year-old Sean saw and was like, oh my God, what is this?
Rocking out with that green mohawk of yours.
Yeah, exactly.
We wrap things up. Have a great weekend.
Cheers.
Well, that's one way to do it right there. Holy God. Oh, yeah.
I had to fill up on that one. That was... So, when you're in the tasting room, a lot of what I make by taste. So I taste it and I taste it. And once on the tap, I don't drink a lot of it because I've taken like 20, 30 samples and I'm done with it. So I haven't had the apricot hops for a while. That is good. Man, that is good. I had to refill it while we were talking because I was drinking so much.
So we're gonna do a little bonus for you right now because
I forgot about that.
He also brought. I'm gonna grab these bottles.
Yeah, a couple.
So check these out. The bottles themselves are very cool. This one. And here's the thing. So if you're curious on exactly what we're getting into, Komodo Dragon, 18%. Double bourbon barrel aged brandy infused apple pie cider. Hula Monster, hard apple cider with brandy aged in a rum barrel with pineapples, grapefruits, pomegranates for 20 months. This is what you laid down in the pandemic.
Yeah, so actually those labels aren't terribly accurate because they were during the pandemic. They were supposed to be 20 months. One was supposed to be 12 months. One was supposed to be 20 months. And then the pandemic hit, and I'm not going to take them out when no one's going to drink them. So I just let them sit. And they sat for about 2 to 3 years. And, you know, when you let something like that sit for that long, it just really just smooths it out and makes it amazing. So what I do with cider, sometimes cider doesn't turn out. You know, I like to push the envelope and, you know, I try to add crazy things. And sometimes you're like, oh, this is a great idea. And you taste it and you're like, oh, that's a bad idea.
Originally it sounded good. Didn't turn out that good.
Not too often, but sometimes it does. Fortunately for me, I'm up in the Miralani Makers District where there is a fantastic distiller at 7
right across the
Caves,
street.
right there. And 7 Caves, I take it to him. We have a gentleman's agreement that he gives me half of the final product. I give him half. He sells it because I can't sell it as the actual brandy. It's too high of ABV. So he gives it to me, and I make more, you know, goodness out of it. And I add things, and I Frankenstein it into something else, which is what this is. And I took it into the first one. I would go with the Hula Monster. It's the apple cider brandy. So it's just straight apple cider, nothing crazy, that we distilled into 170 proof. And then I let it sit with more cider and with the pineapples, grapefruit, and I tasted that with the rum barrel, and it just tasted like a Mai Tai, and it was so good. But it was missing a little something. And Mai Tais have grenadine, usually. Grenadine is for like the color, and I found out that grenadine, I had no idea, was just it's pomegranate juice.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
I thought it was cherry juice for many years until I became a bartender, and then I went, oh, it's not cherry juice, it's pomegranate juice.
Yeah. So when I decided to do this Mai Tai thing, I figured I needed a little something, and I wanted to throw a little pomegranate in there. So I put actual real pomegranates in it. And it turned out to be, I think this is 19%.
Oh, wow. The nose is absolutely killer. Look at the color on that.
And this is just something from my private reserves that I brought today.
Oh, my God.
And it goes down so easily.
Dude, that is the easiest 18% I think I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah, this one's 19.
Oh, God.
19%, almost 20. I think it's 19.6 or 5, something like that. And this entire bottle, it's a 375 milliliter. I did the math on it once. I think it's about 12 shots in here. This is 12 shots of 19% that taste like it's 3%.
I keep waiting for the alcohol burn. Like I'm trying to warm it up in my hands to see if I can get an expression of alcohol out of it. It's not doing it.
So when I had it, when I was going to bottle it, it had a little bit of that expression. But then the pandemic hit, and we had to sit on it for another 2 years. That just aged all of that out. And this will get you in trouble. So I don't actually serve this at the tasting room, because if I did, people would just be crawling out of there.
They would be crushed.
Yeah. So I'm like, you take this home and you get hammered at your house, enjoy it, but I don't have to deal with you.
Yeah. Instead, Amanda will have to deal with me. She'll curse your name, and next time you come to harvest lavender, she'll probably throw eggs at you.
No more lavender for me. Oh. I haven't had this for a little while, and this is really good.
I'm getting these subtle fruit. Oh my God, he went for it. I'm trying to finesse it out, but I know we have one more to get to. So what the hell?
Oh, I'm like, I want more, but no, not yet. Oh man, that was tasty. Yeah, rinse it out. We're gonna be classy here.
I'm cleansing because this next one, this double burble barrel aged brandy infused apple cider. I'm still shocked with as it finishes. there's just absolutely zero alcohol. This one I got a feeling is not going to finish that clean.
Not as clean, but you'll be surprised. So this one is I wanted to make a bourbon barrel aged cider, and I aged my apple pie cider, which I do in the fall, which I'm actually gonna make here shortly. I wanted to age that in bourbon because that sounds awesome. So I did that, and it turned out great, and I was very excited. And then the pandemic happened. And I was like, oh, what do I do with this? I was like, oh, well, I put it in another bourbon barrel, I think.
Wait, it's a double barrel.
So, yeah, so I had it, and it was just cider. There was no brandy in it. I just had it in a bourbon barrel. And the pandemic hit, and I had some bourbon or some brandy left over. So I threw that in a second bourbon barrel with more brandy, more cider, and more apple pie flavorings, which was, fresh cinnamon, nutmeg, vanilla, all that stuff. And I let it sit for another
Just
year
smells like
or
an
so.
old fashioned.
Yeah, old fashioned would be great. Old fashioned actually is another one that I want to do. So the next time I screw up a cider, which will probably be soon, and make more brandy out of it, I'm going to make an old fashioned style cider. I want to do that in a
Bitters,
bourbon
cherry, a little bit of orange.
Yeah, so that's the thing is I don't use ingredients, as I say. Like I won't use bitters, but I'll use something that bitters are derived from. So I'll make my own bitters in the actual cocktail. So yeah, I haven't had this for a while.
Oh man, this is one of those things that is definitely
It smells so good.
it's just like the last one. The alcohol is mellowed over the time, and it's so smooth, sweet. You get this really cool depth of flavor, barrel, almost like a vanilla from the oak.
Yeah.
And then it's mixed with the.
Well, I use fresh vanilla beans in it too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that comes out. But can you imagine just like being in the cold Southern California winter? Sitting by your fire, all cozy.
It's 76 degrees, and I'm wearing a parka. And
Sitting by your fire when it's 76 degrees, when you're out at the beach at the bonfire, and this at a bonfire at night, this is all you need.
I just want to spend the rest of this evening huffing this, honestly.
It smells wonderful. It tastes just like what it smells like. And it's 18%.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and the dangerous part that it's 18%, and it doesn't taste that way.
Yeah. Yeah, you can... I've actually seen people drink this bottle. People, I mean my rugby team. Not real people, they're rugby players. So
Wait, the same rugby team that used to sleep at the bar?
Yeah. Sleep is a good, nice word. Pass out on top of the bar is a thing. But I've had somebody drink this in about 5 minutes.
Ooh.
Yeah. He was a big dude. And man, it turned him into a tiny little puddle of nothing. That's the problem with this is it tastes so good. It doesn't taste like it's gonna just kick you in the teeth.
And they get you.
Yeah, it does. Oh.
Well, you know what? Thank you for sharing these wonderful bottles, and you're very, very lucky. You don't have to deal with me later on, as I will probably finish one of them.
Only one?
Gotta pace myself. We'll see you next week. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.